be. We are here live in the studio here in Inglewood, California. We have a very special guest that's going to be on the phone with us tonight. Sadiki, are you there?
Good, brother. How you doing?
How you doing, my brother? I want y'all to welcome to the platform of Hotep-ish, my man, Mr. Sadiki Bakari, author, lecturer, somebody who inspires me personally. Because, you know, everybody I bring onto this show is somebody I have a personal admiration for, because I believe in sharing with those who have shared with me, you know. And we are here on Hotep-ish. People always ask, why do we call the show Hotep-ish? Well, we call it that because there's been a movement from the mainstream to discredit the name and call black people who are into African spirituality and history, oh, little dusty Hoteps. Oh, hey, I don't mind y'all calling me that. I embrace it because that's where we come from. And if you don't like it, that's your problem. This is where we have intelligent-ish talk. I'm a comedian and also a person that likes to think. So we get profound and profane on here. You don't know. We go back and forth because that's what life is about. Life is about the spectrum. But today we have information. We're going to talk about fear-based programming. And we actually, look, we're going to go wherever Sadiki wants to go with this because he is the master teacher. He is the person that has influenced so many. He is the person that influenced me. So y'all not going to hear my voice that much tonight because we got the man on the line. How you doing again tonight, Sadiki?
Again, I'm great, and I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate you having me on. We have some very serious events taking place right now at the moment, so we need some analysis.
Yes, and some clarity.
Especially from a standpoint of what's going on here in America. It's global, but mainly what's going on here in America as we see this fear-based programming and what's happening. So what I really like to do is just break down fear-based programming, break down PSYOPs or psychological operations and what this means so people can have a clearer view of why at this time people are in so much fear, people are in paranoia, why are people just emotionally out of their minds, why are people so caught up in those who are dealing with truth. From a standpoint of conspiracy theory, this is something we really have to deal with because I don't think a lot of people understand what a theory is.
Yes.
Hey. The whole purpose of a theory
break that down.
Is to be proven. That's science. So when we deal with science, we deal with theories.
Yes.
So the point of a theory is for ideas and things of that nature to be proven. That's all a theory is. What I deal with more so are theorems. Theorems is the proof of the theory, meaning its fact. That's what I deal with. So what I'm going to be dealing with cannot be disproven scientifically and from a sane mind or a mind that is thinking critically and analytically. It can't be disproven. And I want to make that very clear. So anything that I'm going to be saying on this interview in this next hour can easily be fact-checked. It's tons of documentation. And I just want people to be clear and to understand that I didn't write 12 fiction books. I wrote 12 books dealing with nonfiction, even though some of the subject matter people may see as science fiction. I deal with nonfiction. All right, so I want people to be clear about it. We're going to connect some dots here. One of my teachers, who is an ancestor now, Steve Coakley.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing he always taught the masses of people is connecting the dots. People who research can connect dots.
Yes.
People who don't research won't be able to connect dots, all right? So they'll see everything as conspiracy theory and not really understand what's happening. Even when we use this term hoax that people use. Listen, you can have a hoax and there's still truth. Matter of fact, you have to still have truth in order to have a hoax.
Yes.
And I don't think people understand these things, all right? So even when we deal with the coronavirus, which I'm really not going to get into, but I do want people to be very clear. Yes, people are dying, all right, without question. But there's a lot of questions around just what's happening in itself. And I can say with all confidence that when we deal with this notion of the coronavirus, that it is a hoax, because there's lies being told by the government. There's lies being told on many different levels as far as the number count. There's lies being told from a standpoint of certain people who they say are dying from this virus who are not dying from the virus, and they're changing paperwork. All this stuff is already out here, and it's proven.
Yes.
It's proven. If people will look and pay attention and stop being wrapped up in CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, CNBC. All of these are PsyOps programs.
Yes.
All right. So let's get into that. These are PsyOps programs. The media is the propaganda wing of the government. It's military.
Yes.
People need to understand this. It's the propaganda wing. Now, they're going to give you fear all day, every day. That's why all they're telling you about is killing. People dying. Everything is about fear, all right?
Yes.
Fear-based programming. Now, a people or a person who is under fear, there's going to be some issues as far as that person, number one, being able to think critically. Two, that person is going to be confused and in chaos, all right? And as well as many other things, that person is going to be insecure. I mean, it's so many things that we'll be dealing with from a standpoint of when people are in fear and what that looks like. So that looks like insecurity,
yes.
All right? That looks like complacency, procrastination, low self-esteem, anxiety. We see a country full of anxiety right now, a country full of apprehension, a country full of depression. Fear causes depression. And if you think you see depression now while people are quarantined, wait until the quarantine ends. Wait till the type of depression that you're going to see then, all right? When people have to go back to, quote-unquote, real life, all right? We're dealing with lack of vision, confusion, as I mentioned, helplessness, hopelessness, victimization. Right now, our whole country is under a victim consciousness, all right? These are things that we have to pay attention to, all right? Now, what happens when we deal with, again, psychological operations, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, PsyOps programming, mind control. All of this is real. It's easily documented. It's been going on for decades, all right? We're talking about your emotions being programmed, thoughts being programmed, reasoning, behavior, meaning pathology, politics, religion, media, as I've mentioned, images, videos, symbols. All of this is used in order to have a people under mind control.
And to piggyback off what you said, there was an image that came out. CBS News admitted to using the same image in Italy that they were saying was in New York. You know,
absolutely,
literally. So you literally have them telling you the truth right in front of you, but do you believe? You know,
absolutely.
And for those listening, we have Sadiki Bakari online. For everyone's just tuning in, we have Sadiki Bakari online, master teacher. Go right ahead again, my brother.
Yes, so absolutely, and that's very true. They've been doing those types of things for decades, as far as just the manipulation. And, you know, a lot of people, it's difficult for them to really understand what's happening.
Yes.
Cognitive dissonance is very real. It's difficult for people who are programmed to let go of belief systems.
And let me tell the people,
for them to let go.
Because you have a very, very intelligent listener base. But let me break down what cognitive dissonance is to the people who don't understand.
Yeah. So when we say cognitive dissonance, primarily. Let me use religion as an example. So just someone who is part of a religion, all right? We won't say a specific religion. Let's just say religion. Someone is part of a religion. That religion is rooted in belief. Because when you deal with religion, you're dealing with belief. You're not dealing with facts or truth. You're dealing with belief. So this person is heavily rooted into that belief system. So when that person gets something outside of that belief system that is truth, instead of dealing with that truth and understanding that that belief system is just what it is, it's just simply belief, they'll run away from the truth, and they'll run even further into their belief system.
Yeah,
so no matter how much truth is given to that person, or that person is exposed to, they will still run back to their belief system, because in their belief system is comfort. And that comfort means I don't have to change.
Yes.
When you start dealing with truth, there's some things that's going to have to change. And normally, you're going to have to take some type of action. And there is a huge disconnection between knowledge and the application of knowledge. All right? So that's where we are right now. So although there's people waking up, which is great, that's the first step. Still, there has to be action-oriented progress. And that's why this is a transformation that is forever. That's why the ancients told us, man, woman, know thyself.
Yes.
All right? Because it is a lifelong journey and process. And even when we look at Kepra in ancient Kemet, which is about renewal, transformation, rebirth, emergence of one beingness and things of that nature, that is a lifelong pursuit. No one arrives. No matter what level we are on, there's always another level. And that has to be our pursuit in understanding who we are, what we are, where we are, why we're here, how we got here, where we're going from here. All right? So, yeah, cognitive dissonance, man, and that's really what we're dealing with. But again, that's part of the programming. And this is why I wanted to deal with the programming so we can have a better, clearer understanding of the programming.
Yeah, let's
so
get
when we
into
deal
that.
with media, that programming is daily, it's consistent. And when that fear is constantly, one is taking that fear in, literally a consciousness is being imprinted in that person. A consciousness of fear, a consciousness of trauma. Because if you're dealing with fear, you're dealing with trauma. And when you're dealing with trauma, that trauma can be triggered. So whenever people are turning on the news, that trauma is being triggered.
It's a re-triggering
every
of trauma.
time.
Yeah, and it's something that they call sometimes second arrow. When you've already had a trauma, now you're watching it on TV. It's like if you've had for people out there, if you've had a cut, and imagine when that scab is getting ready to get healed, you peel that scab right back off. Every time you turn on the news, you're putting salt in that scab. You're peeling that scab.
Yes.
And that's what that's what that trauma is. And you have direct trauma and you have vicarious trauma. Vicarious trauma may mean you may not have actually experienced the trauma itself, but a trauma that you've heard someone go through, you vicariously feel it, comparing it to something that you've gone through. And every time you see that vicarious trauma is re-triggering.
Right.
Go right ahead, my brother.
Absolutely, and this is why I often tell our people, stop looking at slave movies.
Man.
All right? People don't understand what that's doing to our psyche, to our subconscious mind, and so on and so forth, the trauma that's being triggered. So even when we look at what's going on right now, right, people are sending videos all over the internet, right? This is just triggering trauma over and over again. Death, right? So again, we're just dealing with more fear-based programming. So this is how it works. So we understand it's coming from the government, right? We know it's coming through the media. Now this is what happens. The people now who are programmed continues that programming by now sending those different aspects of programming, whether it's through social media, right? Whether it's through word of mouth, is continuing to talk about and to literally deify this fear-based trauma. All right? Now, even when we deal with the fear-based trauma, there's so many different levels, right? We look at distraction as being part of that, psychological operation. We look at things like the Hegelian dialectic, which is a science, all right? And it deals with how people respond, whether it's an event, whether it's whatever type of information. But that's primarily what it's dealing with. So you're dealing with problems, created problems, intentionally created problems, right? And then there's a reaction to that problem by the people. Mm-hmm. And then there's a solution, and the solution is given by the people who created the problem to begin with, who understand psychologically what the reaction is going to be to the problem by the people per se. So what's an example of that? Let's look at 9/11. 9/11, what was the problem? The problem was terrorism, right? Mm-hmm. This notion of terrorism, even though we're clear, the terrorists were actually this government, all right? So anyway, you look at 9/11, the problem was so-called terrorism. So what was the reaction by the people? The reaction was what? We need protection. We're scared. We're in fear because of terrorists, right? So what was the solution? The solution that the government gave the people, the government who created the problem that is called terrorism, so to speak, the solution is Patriots Act 1 and 2, because you need security. You need to be protected.
And that's the thing.
Homeland Security Bill.
And the Patriot Act was signed in, 2001, and we still living with today. And that's why you need a real ID and 35 minutes at checkout at the airport, and we still live in this inconvenient act because of one event that we still are dealing with because of that. That's some powerful stuff, man. Go right ahead.
And Homeland Security Bill, which in essence really was not about terrorists per se, outside of America. It was more about who they were now considering terrorists here in America, which is us. Mm-hmm. That's what the Homegrown Security Bill was really about.
Homeland Security Bill, yeah.
Yeah, Homeland Security Bill, excuse me. That's what it really was about, to criminalize us. So this is what we're dealing with. Same thing here. Now, when we deal with this situation and what's going on now, you're going to see the same type of a situation. What was the problem? So now the problem is what? Biochemical viruses, but it's really biochemical warfare. All right, so that's the problem. So now, what's going to be the reaction of the people? We need to be protected. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, who's going to determine how the people are protected? The government. The very people who helped to create this biochemical act of military warfare.
It's what I said the government always does. They created problems.
The coronavirus, let me be clear, it is a virus. Mm-hmm. It is a virus. No one's saying it's not a virus. But you have to understand when things go into laboratories. All right? What happens in laboratories? All right? So we have to be clear, we're dealing with biochemical warfare. A lot of people have been talking about 5G technology as well. All right? Again, that's still biochemical warfare. And let me just clear some things up, because I know what's going on in social media. Mm-hmm. No one is saying that 5G or fifth generation technology is the coronavirus. No one is saying that. People who can comprehend and read are very clear that that's not what people are saying. Now, what's very true is each one of them is a biochemical warfare agent in its own right, as its own entity. All right? So everyone knows already what the coronavirus is, what it does, what's the effects, unless you live under a rock. So everyone knows what that is. But let's look at 5G. Now, what 5G does, when you deal with EMS, electromagnetic fields and things of that nature, radiation, let's keep it simple, radiation. This is what happens. And this is science. This is not a conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. It's science.
Bring it.
What 5G radiation does is it depletes your immune system. All right? Now, again, I mentioned connecting the dots earlier. All right? Now, the reason all of your babies are out of school and many of you are not working is simple. 5G towers are being put up all over the country.
And before you go further, I want to go ahead and jump in on that, because I've seen 5G up in Sacramento. This brother I follow was pointing up pictures of 5G towers being put up near schools in Sacramento that were not there 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This is real, folks. Go right ahead again.
No, I mean, absolutely. It's definitely real. And just to bring more to the table with 5G, 5G is not new. Now, let me preface this so people understand. First of all, I've written several books dealing with artificial intelligence, transhumanism, the singularity, and technology in general, all right? So when we're dealing with technology, just know who you're listening to right now, all right? Now, when we deal with 5G technology is at least 50 years old. I'm going to say it again. 5G technology is at least 50 years old. Now, how can I be so certain about the effects of 5G technology? Remember, we talked about theory and theorems earlier. Now, 5G technology or radiation, so to speak, experiments were done in Russia in 1972 on humans and animals, all right? I want people to really understand what's being said here. So for 50 years, the government and other governments have known what 5G radiation does to the human body and to animals' bodies. This is not a theory. This is fact. This is a theorem. It's proven. All right? So we have to understand when you're hearing people all of a sudden starting to talk about 5G and what it's doing to people, and if you just research, you will already see the damage that 5G has been doing to people long before the coronavirus. Now, if you understand that, you'll understand and be able to connect dots and understand why so many people are succumbing to this virus and it's having the type of effects that it's being said that it's having, all right? So I just want people to understand how things work. Also, 5G bill was passed March 23rd.
I didn't know that.
That's important for people to know. Yeah. Why are people in quarantine, yet these bills are being passed?
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
All right, a 5G bill. Mm-hmm. A law was passed regarding 5G. So you got laws being passed regarding 5G. You got towers being put up regarding 5G. Now the question people need to ask themselves, what is the purpose of 5G? Of course, I know what it is. Mm-hmm. People need to research and ask themselves, well, what's the real purpose of 5G? The purpose of 5G is to take people into a new so-called reality. Mm-hmm. That so-called reality is virtual reality, virtual environment, and augmented reality. Mm-hmm. Augmented reality, when you use augmented or augment in science, that basically means it's supposed to be better than whatever it is that existed before. Mm-hmm. So augmented reality is supposed to be an upgraded, updated, more powerful version of virtual reality. Now, when you deal with virtual reality and augmented reality or virtual environment, what you're doing is taking away the human aspect of it or the spiritual aspect of it. And that is the purpose of 5G, to be able to have better capability of doing that. So when I say virtual environment, what I mean is connecting homes, workplaces, cities, parks, and things of that nature, right? Smart homes.
Yes.
Driverless cars. Those types of things.
Putting everything on the
grid. So
you're
taking the human out of the element. And this is what automation, we've already seen automation. Mm-hmm. Now with 5G, that becomes a whole nother beast. But with automation, what happens? That means now those used to be operators, human operators. Mm-hmm. People are losing jobs. So what happens when you look at warehouse type of industries? Those people are losing jobs to autonomous robots.
And let me piggyback off what you're saying real quick as far as that goes.
Yes.
If for those who are here in L.A., go down to the port. You have the port of Long Beach, you have the port of San Pedro. The port of San Pedro still has longshoremen and people working there. The port of Long Beach don't. The whole port of Long Beach is run automated. When them ships come in, they have automated things picking those things up off the ships and containers and putting them on trucks. All of it's automated, and that's right now. It was just last year that the city of San Pedro said they're going to push automation off for 10 years. So that means they got 9 more years of work on down there. And for those of you questioning what is 5G, this is spookism, this, ask yourself this question. With lesser technology, go to any city you in, any part of the world, where you have those power lines. Why is that the cheapest real estate? Why are there so many nurseries under power lines? Because power lines messes with the bodies, increase cancer risk. All these things with just power lines. So think about that, and think about this with this new updated technology that's taking those power lines and integrating the world with it. And just use your common sense is what we're trying to say here. Mm-hmm. On the line we have Sadiki Bakari, master teacher. For those who are just tuning in, you're here on acceleratedRadio.net every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Go right back ahead, brother. I just wanted to jump in and put that in there, but go right back into what you were saying.
No, absolutely. And even when we look at 5G, so this is something that people need to realize. And I always say this, when you're dealing with technology, you have to look at the psyche behind the technology. If you are dealing with psychopaths, the technology is going to be psychopathic, meaning in how it's going to be used.
Hold on. Say that again. Please. Say that one more time.
Whenever you're dealing with technology or anything, you have to deal with the psyche of the person or people that's behind it. Mm-hmm. So when we deal with technology, we're dealing with psychopaths. That technology is going to be used in a psychopathic way. I can give you an example. When we look at 5G technology, first of all, they have higher technologies. They're just not mainstream, all right? But there's a 10G technology. Now, this is different than 5G. The G doesn't even mean the same thing. When you say 5G, you're talking about fifth generation technology. 10G technology, the G stands for gigabytes or gigabits, all right? So 10G is cables. It's not dealing with radiation. It's not wireless, all right? They could use the 10G technology and have pretty much some of the same results as far as what they want to do in regards to virtual reality and internet speed and all these other things. Why won't they use 10G?
And it's crazy because back in 1996, Bill Clinton signed it and had basically the whole country mapped with cable technology, and it's already there.
Exactly. So there's a technology that doesn't have to be as detrimental to our bodies, but they prefer to use a technology that is. Now, let me lay it out. So when we say the health hazards of 5G, I already talked about it, depletes the immune system. Melatonin reduction, disrupts cell metabolism, all right? Changes heart rate, arrhythmia, causes toxicity in the whole body, cellular, to eat, whatever, however else you want to look at it, all right? Learning and memory deficits, reproductive system changes, increase in cancer risk. Mm-hmm. Okay, listen, if you're sitting up under a 5G tower, you're going to have cancer in a month. Because you have to understand, 5G technology is 50 times more dangerous than 4G.
Wow.
That's what we're dealing with. The radiation that's emitted is it's ridiculous. Wow. All right? There's an issue with oxygen to the blood also. Mm-hmm. So these are things that, you have to understand. Depression. Now, I know people are still going to get it because of it's a gadget. You can do all these different things, right? So, people are going to still get it. People are not going to listen to how it's literally killing them, their babies. There's people who aren't going to listen to that. That's the cognitive dissonance in them. But this is something that we really have to, pay attention to. Just artificial intelligence in general. Now, I don't want people to think I'm saying it's all bad, technology is all bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we need to deal with that side of it because most people aren't. Most people are talking about, oh, well, I can do my banking online, right? Or I can create income streams online. You know, all those things are wonderful. Mm-hmm. They're great. I don't speak against that. I don't speak against the aspects of technology that can assist us as humanity. But what happens is this. When artificial intelligence becomes the preface for humanity,
yes,
as opposed to spiritual technology, that's a problem. The greatest, most powerful technology on the planet is us.
That's true.
In our relationship to the cosmos, to nature, to the elements, and to the animals. That is primordial intelligence. That is the greatest intelligence. That is the greatest technology. It's archetypal. It's always been here as long as we've known. Mm-hmm. Artificial intelligence or synthetic intelligence cannot exist without the original intelligence. This is why distraction is so important. Mm-hmm. This is why the media treats the public the way it treats the public from a standpoint of what it is saying or what they are saying, because they don't want you to tap into your divinity. Mm-hmm. And you won't as long as you're in fear. They don't want you to tap into your intuition. Mm-hmm. They don't want you to tap into your imagination. For all the religious folks, what's the first thing that they talk about in the Bible? It's talking about creation and manifestation. That's what it's talking about. So in other words, it's talking about your imagination. For those of you who don't really comprehend what you're reading. It's talking about your imagination and your ability to create and manifest and implement. That's what it's talking about. Mm-hmm. The purpose of media is to keep you distracted from doing that. They never show you what's in the left hand. They only show you what's in the right hand. Mm-hmm. And they have you fixated on what's in the right hand, which is the distraction. Mm-hmm. Elections are distractions. All those things are distractions. I'm not telling people not to vote. I'm just making it clear. All those things are distractions. They were created specifically to distract you while something else is going on by the real government, because that's not the real government.
Nope.
All right, so we have to understand that we are all watching a movie. Some people know that it's a movie. Some people know that it's a theatrical production, and yes, people die in this production, but some people really think that this is real life and how things really operate. Mm-hmm. There's things that I could tell you or other scholars who have done research that people would never think is true, because you have to understand. It has to be so big that you never would think it's true. Mm-hmm. 9/11.
To man.
It was so big, even though there were no terrorists. Yep. Those were missiles from this country, as well as demolition, explosion in another building.
And then an ID that was conveniently thrown on top to tell us who was the one that did it, right?
Exactly. So, again, they make it so big that now everything is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Even though it's 30 and 40 documentaries out that document 9/11.
And
tons of
people
books.
who say, like, conspiracy theory, for those, back to the people who are stuck on this conspiracy theory thing, man, look.
Right.
When it comes to that, yes, these things happen. Go ahead, just read J. Edgar Hoover's files. There's a book called Killers of the Flower Moon, where these FBI agents married into this Indian tribe and killed off the whole tribe within 10 years to take their money and land. This happened.
Right.
Operation Mockingbird, where media, where the FBI and CIA implants their own personnel onto the media to purposely tell you lies. So for those people who think conspiracy theories is just some things that some whack jobs are thinking about, if you just pick open a book and listen to this, well, one thing I'll say about the United States, they will tell you what they do. You just have to be open to reading it.
Absolutely. It's well documented. But see, people who speak conspiracy theory are normally people who won't do the research themselves.
intellectually
Those are
lazy.
normally the people who speak to conspiracy theory, because people who are researching, those people know what this government is capable of and what they've done.
Yep.
And they've seen the documentation, and they're familiar with the work from those who have documented the work and things of that nature.
Sadiki, we got like 15 minutes left. When you close this part out, I want you to get into talking about the defecation of the fear being an illusion and the defecation of fear, and some solutions to what we're going through. But tie in what you have to say, and then we're going to go into that, because we only got 15 minutes.
Well, absolutely. So let's do this. First, for your listeners, I have 12 books, and those books are available. The easiest way for me to get you those books is digital books through email. I can get those books to you
right away,
immediately. So you can contact me. I know you have a lot of people on Facebook, watching on Facebook Live.
I'll type it in as you talk.
Contact me on Facebook, as well as email me. Okay. My email is my name, Sadiki Bakari, SADIKIBAKARI, Sadiki Bakari @hotmail.com. You can email me, and there's a package that I'm doing with 7 books that's primarily dealing with the things that's going on today, as well as the empowerment books, because that's what's most important. And that's what we're going to get into.
And those empowerment books are deep, people.
How do we empower ourselves? How do we deprogram ourselves and reprogram ourselves so we can tap back into our greatness, our divinity, success, our vision, our purpose, and things of that nature. All right? So you can contact me that way for that. Also, one-on-one, I do national consulting. So I have clients all over the country. So those of you who would like that personal one-on-one attention, so to speak, to deal with the Empower Technology or Empower Mastery System, where we deal with several things. We deal with how to overcome fear as a technology, mastering the science of affirmation as a technology, breakthrough training focusing on trauma, triggers, success technology, cellular technology, neurological technology, intuition technology, imagination, alchemy, so on and so forth, just so a person can operate in their divinity and manifest and have the success that we all deserve. So if you want to get with me on the one-on-ones as well, the monthly one-on-ones, all access to me, you can do that as well. All right, so let's get into fear, right? Fear is an illusion. And it does correlate with what we were talking about earlier with the psyop programming, the mind control, and things of that nature. And that's why I read the list off of how fear affects us. And what fear does is it makes us a shell of ourselves. All right? What happens is it has us reacting to something that is not necessarily true. But we live in our life as if it is. So in that, obviously, we're not moving in our divinity. We're not moving in our quote-unquote godhood. We're not moving in this type of success that we could move in. We're not creating like we could create. We're not manifesting like we can manifest. So the things that we're really here to do, we're not able to do because we're debilitated by this illusion of fear, so to speak. All right? Now, what I do, people who work with me one-on-one, there's something that I have. It's called a fear questionnaire. This fear questionnaire is 9 questions. Those 9 questions will shift your entire paradigm. It will shift your entire life. Because what it does is it forces you to look at your fears and be honest about your fears and deal with the origin of those fears and how to heal yourself from those fears and deal with the pathologies that came with those fears. So when I say pathology, we're dealing with the subconscious mind. When you deal with fear, you're dealing with the subconscious mind. That's why when we see what's happening today, they have to keep pushing death, which means every time you turn on the news, what are you listening to? Death.
If it bleeds,
it's going into your subconscious mind. Death. It's replaying in your subconscious mind. Death. Over and over and over again. Fear, 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 fear. Afraid. When you are in fear, you are totally destroying your immune system. So it's interesting that they tell you the solution is to stay in your house. So you can watch the news all day. And while you're watching the news all day, you're depleting your immune system.
They done got rid of the traffic report for this stuff.
Right? So this is how it works. It works off pathology and repetition. And again, this is being imprinted in your cells. This is being imprinted in your entire being, to the point that this is how you're operating. You're operating in fear. Everyone you see now, you're afraid that they might have the coronavirus. This is how it operates. People are panicking if they forget their gloves or they forget their mask. But none of that is going to matter if your immune system is depleted anyway. It's not going to matter, because most of you are going to go home and take your gloves off in the house anyway. You're not going to come home and take a shower. You're going to sit your clothes somewhere anyway. All right? So we have to understand how fear works and how it operates and how it disempowers a person. And this is really important to understand. It disempowers a person. All right? When you are in this illusion of fear, what happens to you? It limits you from interfacing with the so-called God self, your higher self, your divine self, your greater self. What else? It distorts your reality. So your reality, you're operating in illusion. It creates inner noise and mind clutter. There's no clarity. You're in confusion.
You can't even see. And let me break in and say just one more thing on top of that. When you're dealing with fear, and you alluded to this earlier, you're down in that lower reptilian brain. You know, you don't even your thoughts. And this is, you can go and talk to any psychiatrist, any psychologist, look up any book for people who out there thinking it's just some mumbo jumbo. No, your fear is fight or flight. It gets you that immediate reaction. When you're in fear, you're in your lower level base brain, and your creativity is in your frontal lobe, where your forehead is. But the signal can never get to your forehead if it's being stopped by your limbic in your limbic system, by your lower brain. And so on a physical level, the part of your brain that gets you the messages that's going to make you creative, make you think, make you get out of these.
That's right.
Your brain is that part of that brain. It's like driving down a freeway and you're on a 405, you want to get on a 105, but the interchange is missing. You can see it over there, but try to drive your ass over there and see if you don't fall. That's how your brain works. It's a highway, just like our brain system, just like our freeway systems. So that's what's going on a physical level. So go right back ahead, brother, into what you were just saying about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the next point. It limits divine creativity and manifestation, right? Also, it creates a reactionary as opposed to a person who's being proactive, all right? Also, when you're in fear, you're going to dwell in a portal of stagnation, a comfort zone, and you will have paralysis of the imagination, all right? Now, let's look at when a person overcomes their fears, right? And just so everyone is clear, I have a program that specifically deals with how to overcome fear. I want to make that clear to people. So I'm not just a person who has read something and is just talking about something that I've read. I'm a person who have created a system. The only way to deal with systems is by creating systems.
A system, yes.
All right?
Yes.
So I want to make that very clear. I've created a system for our people. The Empower Mastery System, or Empower Technology. All right? So I'm clear on what our people need. I'm clear on how to overcome particular things that our people are dealing with subconsciously, psychologically, and on and on and on. All right? Now, once a person overcomes fear, so to speak, they've gone through the process and they've been able to change pathology and things of that nature. They've rewired their subconscious mind. They've imprinted a new consciousness, so to speak. Now we get into what's on the other side of fear. Now, this is what's on the other side of fear. Power. You're no longer powerless. Now you're powerful. Divine creation, which means divine manifestation. Proaction. High self-esteem. Because you're going to have a high self-esteem when you're not confused and dealing with insecurities. You're going to have clarity. You're going to have vision. You're going to have freedom. You're going to be able to think critically and analytically. All right? These are the things that's going to come from a person who is overcoming fear. Now, again, when we look on a mass scale in America, what is happening? We have the majority of people who are under fear, who's in a fear-based construct. What can you get done in that energy? And this is where I want people to truly understand. Number one, start by cutting off the TV. Cut off the news. Start
That's
there.
1 through 10.
Start there.
Yes.
Start there, because then you'll begin to start having some different type of thoughts. Now, it's still going to take some work, because you still have to deprogram yourself and then reprogram yourself once the deprogramming is done. All right? Again, we have a method and system to be able to do all of that. So, this is what's happening as far as fear. And I think, a lot of people are afraid to face their fears. But when people face their fears, that's when they're going to realize the divinity that exists in them and be able to deal with that divinity and manifest that divinity on a more consistent basis. Have that power in themselves. Have that power in people like themselves. Have security in themselves so they can have security from a standpoint of other people. Love themselves instead of having self-hate. So now you can love our people instead of being jealous and envious and hating our own people. So it's an inside job, and that's where it starts. So no one should be talking about revolution unless they're talking about revolution of their own internal self, first and foremost, because that's why the fear exists, and there is no external revolution taking place, because it's fear. And because people deify the people that they'd actually be fighting against, even though they really won't be fighting against those people, because they'll be fighting against artificial intelligence. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Really what it is like, so when it comes to a fight, the fight isn't external, the fight is internal.
Exactly.
I don't even want to use the word fight, because really what it is, we have to get to know ourselves, and through ourselves comes out the greatness, and no one outside can stop that. And that's something that I think that people don't quite understand. You're listening to the Hotep-ish, acceleratedaradio.net, hotepish.com. On the line, Sadiki Bakari, master teacher. We got 6 more minutes left, my brother. So I want you to close it out however you feel you need to do it, man.
All right, so let's close it out with number one. If you are not the person who have done the research, if you are not the person who have lived the life of what it is that you're talking about, if you are not the person with the experience, please allow those who are that person to lead until you have the ability to be that person. I just want to make that clear to people. There's people out here who have spent much of their adult lives for you. Respect what they do. Honor what they do. Revere what they do. If you're not familiar with someone's work, you shouldn't speak on their work. Be familiar. Doesn't matter about anyone else's work. Be familiar with that person's work. And that's why I applaud you, brother, because I know you have my work and you've read my work.
Yes.
And I appreciate you for that. Also, I appreciate you for what you do, brother. And what I want to do to close it out also is give honor and reverence to my teachers. I mentioned Steve Coakley, who is an ancestor.
I didn't know you knew him. I'm going to have to bring you back on and talk more about Steve Coakley again. We're going to have you back on pretty soon. I want to talk about Steve Coakley. Man, we got the same birthday. I love that man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As well as Amiri Baraka, who, as an artist, activist, author, writer, all of those things, this brother is arguably in the last century, one of the greatest minds that we have. And he's an ancestor. And, of course, my direct teacher is Ashra Kwesi, who is one of the
I just saw him at the Chris Unity Center last month.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the greatest scholars
Yes,
that we
he
have
is.
as far as history is concerned.
Yes, he is.
So he's my direct teacher. And, of course, you know, giving reverence to his compliment, his wife, Mary Rock Kwesi.
Man, so I really thank you for telling us, dropping this information and dropping this game on the people, man. Because for those who don't know, I got turned on to Sadiki by a friend of mine, and it was Milana, and it was another person I know that knew you. It's just that everyone that's been through your course that knows you, they speak about you in such glowing terms, you know. And it's funny because you, like how you said, some people the first people to criticize are the ones who ain't read a damn book or ain't been to one lecture or nothing, you know, and don't want to go. But to those, for my listeners out there, I haven't been to Sadiki's class. I haven't read his read book, especially in Power. I love that book.
Yes.
But for those who have gone through, it's just, you know how it is, people, when you hear of someone through someone, and you see the energy that they put out about that person, you see the love that they put out to that person, it's genuine. And everyone I know that you've touched, my brother, when they talk about you, it's in such loving and such glowing terms, you know? And so when I reached out to you this week, I literally kicked myself in the ass for not reaching out to you last year, you know? But timing, things happen when they happen, you know? So I'm glad to have you on the show now, and I would love to have you come on. I would love for you to be a regular, to tell you the truth. You know, as much as your schedule every few months or whatever it can be can fit, because you have so much information. And one thing about my show, Hotep-ish, we talk about serious stuff, we talk about jokes, but we always talk about solutions. No matter what the issue is we're talking about, we're going to come back to solutions and how to solve things. I personally have a company named Breakthrough Advocacy Services, where I advocate for children with special needs and black children to get them through the school system and get them the resources that they need. And I also mentor especially teens and help them find their vision and what they want to do in life. And so a program like yours is like, man, this is what we need right now. We need solutions, you know. So you don't only talk about the problem, you also have solutions and a system on how to break down and get that. So the world needs you, my brother, and I love you for that.
I created an entire system focused on empowerment and solutions specifically for our people.
Where can they find you, Sadiki?
One-on-ones, people.
Say that one more time. Where can they find you, man? We have 1 minute. I want them to be very clear on where they can find you.
Facebook, I know a lot of y'all on Facebook Live. I appreciate you. All of you who listen, my fiance, my children, everyone. Listen, Sadiki Bakari at hotmail.com. Email me, SADIKIBAKARI, Sadiki Bakari at hotmail.com. You can also get with me on Facebook, and that's how we can set up these one-on-one, the monthly one-on-ones, as well as if you want to purchase the digital books or physical books as well, we can arrange all of those things. My brother mentioned the Empower book. That Empower book is changing people's lives all over the world. All right, that is documented from LA to Africa to Australia. So just contact me, and we'll go from there.
Got you.
And again, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate the listeners that tuned in tonight from all over the world. I'm grateful. Know that I'm grateful. And I do this work not only for my family and myself, but I also do this work for our people.
I appreciate you, man. Daryl Mooney, I see you listening in. I'm going to have to get you down here too, my brother. You,
my man.
I love you, Daryl. I want to get you. And thank you for Sadiki for calling in and for letting us know what the real deal is.
We'll do it again, brother.
We're going to do it again. And for those listening, this is Hotep-ish, where we have intelligent-ish talk. Sometimes it's profound, sometimes it's profane. But today we was profound with this right here. I'm really excited to have you on the phone and to have called in. And I'm Dewan B, DWANNB, at Instagram and Twitter. Facebook. And remember this as we sign out. There are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up game. This is Hotep Ish. We out. Thank you again, Sadiki.
Thank you, brother.